Information discussed in this podcast may be sensitive in nature to some listeners. Listener discretion is advised. Zachary Vidal was 27 years old in October of 2022, living in the Pottsville, Pennsylvania area. He should have been planning his future and living out his adult life. But something sent him off track, or at least that's what his friends and family believe. Zach was very close to his family and he spoke to them regularly. In fact, on October 21st, 2022, Zach visited his mom at work to ask her some questions about cleaning his home. Seems a pretty typical thing for a young man, and that actually made me smile knowing that this young man would go to his mother for some simple life advice. But sadly, this would be the last time she spoke to her son. On October 22nd, 2022, the very next day, Zachary walked to the 7-Eleven store in Pottsville, Pennsylvania. He didn't drive, so walking around town was his normal mode of getting around. He left the store on foot and was believed to have gone to a friend's house where some people were hanging out. Zach allegedly left that house in the early morning hours of October 23rd, 2022, walking away to somewhere unknown. There were possible sightings of him later on, but from there, Zachary vanished. Small town rumors run rampant. But sadly, the truth is that Zach is still missing and his family has now gone more than 3 years without any answers. Where is Zachary Vidal? Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for tuning in to the Where Are They podcast bonus episode, and most importantly, to another missing person story, this one out of Pottsville, Pennsylvania. And a huge thank you to all of you out there listening and supporting our show, either as a patron or as a subscriber. You are helping us keep going and helping us continue to share these stories. Stories like Zach Vidal's. Zachary was born and raised in Pennsylvania. He grew up with a brother and a sister and is described as always being easygoing, calm, and quiet. Zach is a huge fan of the Philadelphia Eagles football team, and he enjoys music and playing the guitar. Zach, growing up and into his adult years, was always close to his family. Zach would also have a daughter of his own when he was in his late teens. In 2022, Zachary was 27 years old, and he had some struggles finding his way, as many young people do. He wasn't sure about a career path, and he just didn't know which direction to go in. But he always had the support and help from his family. Zachary was also struggling with mental health, something he had been battling on and off for several years, and he needed people he trusted in his circle. On October of 2022, Zach was unemployed and he didn't drive. He mainly walked everywhere, hanging out in the Pottsville area, and he still talked to his family almost every day. In fact, on October 21st, 2022, Zach went to his mother's job and had a conversation with her. She said Zach was asking about cleaning supplies to clean his home, and it was a totally normal conversation. She said nothing at all seemed out of the ordinary or raised any red flags to her. Zach seemed to be behaving like his normal self. From there, Zach left, and she believed she'd be talking to him again soon. Now, it was also known at this time Zach did not have a working cell phone. His cell phone was broken, and he was just doing without for the time being. The very next day, October 22nd, 2022, Zach was seen at the 7-Eleven store on Route 61 in Pottsville. It appeared he had walked there and then he was alone. From there, he was seen leaving the store on foot. We don't know exactly what happened from here. This is essentially when the mystery begins. The family considers this the last confirmed sighting of Zachary. But we do have some people who came forward saying that later that evening, he did visit a friend in the Pottsville area where some guys were just hanging out. One of those guys said that he and Zach left the house early in the morning hours of October 23rd, and they both just went their separate ways. Of course, I do have unanswered questions here, as do many people, including Zachary's family. Now, at some point, Zachary was reported as missing, but I cannot tell you when that officially happened and by whom. But once he was reported missing, it does seem that law enforcement did take the case seriously and did begin searching for Zach right away. And the family also began searching, both by talking to everyone they knew, starting social media groups, going outside and doing foot searches, but nothing was really uncovered. Law enforcement also conducted ground searches, and rumors started to fly around Pottsville, but nothing was proven to have merit. Authorities also conducted many interviews of people who were known to Zachary or who may have seen him in the days leading up to his disappearance. CCTV footage was discovered from the 7-Eleven, so that sighting is verified. What we don't know with 100% certainty is if the story of the night with his friends, that night following that 7-Eleven visit, is accurate. Some people, many people, do question the authenticity of these people. Now, those friends or acquaintances of Zachary's were known to law enforcement as having had some criminal history in the past, although they have not been publicly named, so I can't pull up any specific arrest records. But sources do state that law enforcement said the crimes are not violent in nature. So was Zach really at the house that night? Had something happened to him at that house? Or did something happen to him prior to going to the house? We just don't know. And sadly, there is no cell phone to track. And we don't know of any other video surveillance of Zach anywhere, which is actually kind of unusual since it was 2022, unless authorities do have some that they haven't released. But it seems as if Zach just vanished into thin air. But people don't just vanish. Now, I do want to bring up a couple of things in Zach's story. And remember, we're working with very limited information here. But I do want to take a look at the area of Pottsville, Pennsylvania. Pottsville is considered part of the Appalachian Mountain region. The city or town is 100 miles northwest of Philadelphia, and it has a population of just over 13,000 residents. It's a small town, certainly not the smallest of small towns, as in some stories we've talked about in the past, and it's certainly not a big city, but it's definitely on the smaller side. Now, Pottsville is also considered to be part of the coal region. Now, to me, this could indicate a few different things. Mountains bring rural areas and dangerous terrain. And if it was a mining area at one time, there is sure to be old caverns and possibly abandoned areas that could be very dangerous. Maybe not exactly in Pottsville, but likely in the surrounding areas. There is also the Schuylkill River that flows right through Pottsville. The Schuylkill River is a river that flows from Pottsville all the way down to Philadelphia, where it joins the Delaware River. This river is enjoyed by many for its scenic beauty. It's a beautiful river, and it offers a lot of recreational opportunities, fishing, kayaking. Now, it isn't necessarily a huge river by any means, but large enough, and in many areas, it is completely obscured by woods and brush, and just very hard to get to. What I also noticed is that this river flows directly adjacent to Route 61. Route 61 is the road where the 7-Eleven store was, where Zach was last seen on camera. So it seems like there could be some dangerous areas nearby, some secluded areas and areas that could be very difficult to actually search. I also do want to mention Locating the Lost podcast did a brief interview with Zach's aunt back in 2024. And she alluded to the fact that there were other missing persons from that area, notably young men. Now, there is nothing to connect any of these cases that I'm about to mention, but for such a small town and such a sparsely populated region of the United States, it seems unusual that there would be even more than just one missing person from this town. So I did look into this somewhat, and I did find some other missing persons from Pottsville, other young men. The first one I'm going to mention is Austin Williams. Austin just went missing back in December of 2025, 3 months ago, as of the recording of this. He has not been found yet, though his case is relatively new, so updates can certainly happen anytime. Here is what we do know. 17-year-old Austin Williams was last seen on December 4th, 2025 in Pottsville, Pennsylvania. He is described as a male with brown hair and blue eyes, and despite ongoing efforts, officials confirm that he has not yet been found. I did do a double check just before recording this, and it appears that Austin Williams is still missing. Then we have John Lango, a cold case back from 1988. Now here's what the Charlie Project says about John Lango. John was last seen leaving his family's residence in Pottsville, Pennsylvania at approximately 12 o'clock a.m., midnight, on January 1st, 1988. He got into an argument with his girlfriend about where they were going to celebrate New Year's, and they parted ways. Later, while John was drinking with friends at his home, there was an altercation, and the police were called. Allegedly, John said, "Screw this, I'm out of here." And he got into a car with other people, possibly to go to another party or go to the store. He never returned home, and he has never been heard from again. Now, at that time, John was just a senior in Pottsville High School. He had not yet graduated. He was well liked by his classmates, and he was close to his family. He did fairly well in school, and he enjoyed dancing and hanging out with his friends. Although one acquaintance said that he had become introverted and sullen in the year prior to his disappearance. Now, his loved ones don't necessarily agree with that, and they don't think he would have run away from home. There has been no trace of John Lango since. His case remains unsolved, and he is missing under very unclear circumstances. Now, I also want to mention the case of Jesse Farber from the neighboring town of Tamaqua. Now, Jesse vanished in 2015, and his case made the news and did receive actually a fair amount of publicity. Sadly, his remains were found in October of 2025, 10 years after he vanished. Jesse's case was well known in that area. And then there's the case of James Herrig. James was also from Pottsville, but he allegedly took a trip to nearby Blythe. James was last seen when his friends dropped him off in the Sharp Mountain area of Blythe Township, Pennsylvania. This is just about 5 miles north of Pottsville. On the morning of February 5th, 2012, his friends dropped him off. He allegedly said to them, "This looks like a good place to get lost." He walked off into the woods, and he has never been heard from again. The Sharp Mountain area is rugged with numerous mine shafts and rock slides. An extensive search of that area turned up no sign of James Herrig. James had dropped out of sight before, but generally for just a week or two at a time behind a young son. Since he disappeared, he has not used his bank account or applied for any type of benefits. Foul play is not necessarily suspected in his case, but his case does remain unsolved. Now, of course, these cases are not believed to be connected in any way, each taking place at a very different time and with very different circumstances. But it does show a pattern of young men missing in this area despite lower population numbers. Is it a good place to get lost, as James Herrig had said? Is it a place that is conducive to accidents? Is it a place where foul play can happen without witnesses or cameras to catch what is happening? Why are all these cases that of young men? Now, I could go deeper on that subject in particular, but the focus of this story is on Zach. The mystery of Zach Vidal is frustrating because we just don't have much information, which means several theories and possibilities are on the table here. Could Zach have wandered off, becoming injured and or lost? There have been many ground searches from law enforcement and from family and volunteers, with a focus on some of the rural areas and the railroad tracks that run just south of the town. There has been nothing found. Also, one of the topics of focus has always been on the backpack that Zach was seen carrying and looking for that black backpack. It has never been found. In fact, nothing of Zach's has been found. Now, an equally possible theory in Zach's case is that of foul play. There have been a lot of questions regarding that so-called get-together the night of October 22nd, and a lot of people believe that that evening and those people hold the key to solving this case. It has been said that the friends at that party have not been very forthcoming with information. We can also point out that they do have some type of criminal history. And we don't know all the details about what was happening at that house. Was there drinking and or drugs? Has that house ever been searched? It's likely that it might not have been, especially since the people there weren't exceptionally cooperative, and I don't know that this information would garner enough for a search warrant. But Zach was described by everyone who knew him as completely likable, easygoing. What could have been a motive for foul play? And if they did do something, where did they take him from there? I do think this is a possible theory. My only hesitation is that it sounds like there were multiple people involved. It is highly unlikely that if that is the case, that someone will talk at some point. We know that anytime there's multiple people involved in anything, someone usually eventually talks. Maybe we just haven't reached that point yet. Now, besides an accident or foul play, we might want to consider that he chose to disappear, possibly even choosing the route of self-harm. And again, it's a rural, mountainous, former coal mining town with a river that runs all the way down to the much larger Delaware River. So many areas where a body might not be found. Authorities have also stated that due to his mental health struggles, he might have wandered off and become part of a homeless population. His family does not believe this to be the case. He has never been out of touch with them before, and they believe he eventually would have reached back out to them. Now, I know we have very, very little information here. Sometimes cases work out that way, but I can also say this often seems to be the case when it comes to missing men, especially missing young men. I'm interested to know what your thoughts are on what happened to Zach Vidal, and what do we need to do to bring Zach home? Zachary is described as a Caucasian male with light brown, dark blonde hair and blue eyes. He stands between 5'10" and 6 feet tall, and he weighs around 150 pounds. He was last seen wearing blue jeans, a red shirt, a tan jacket, an Oakley baseball-style hat, and he is believed to be carrying a black backpack. If you have any information regarding the disappearance of Zachary Vidal, please contact Pottsville Police at 570-622-1234, or anonymous tips can be sent to the Pennsylvania Crime Stoppers at 1-800-4PA-TIPS. Pennsylvania Crime Stoppers and the Vidal family together are offering a $6,000 reward for information that leads to Zach's whereabouts. Zach's family is absolutely heartbroken, and they need to bring Zach home. There are 2 Facebook groups set up for Zach. Please go give them a follow. They are monitored by the family, and you can find them on Facebook by searching A Voice for Zachary Vidal and Zachary Vidal Search Group. Thank you so much for listening to Zach's story today. We don't know much, but I'm going to keep an eye on his case, and I will bring you any updates as they come in. We will be back again very soon with another unsolved missing persons story. And until then, stay safe and hug your loved ones.